Good morning and welcome to day 12 of Vlogmas. If you noticed, you might have seen that we actually skipped a few days, and that is just part of life. I think that after those first 8 days of Vlogmas, a lot of stuff happened. We had like a last minute procedure. Emily was out of town. I had to travel across the state. We lost Brody. There was just so much that happened, and we just needed a few days to recharge and get ready for the rest of Vlogmas, because this is something we're committed to, and we just needed to step back for a few days and get ourselves set up. So as you can see, I'm inside of the Cougar, and it's a wreck. It is so messy. We kind of just moved out of it on a whim, and it sat for a few weeks. So today I'm going to try to start getting everything cleared out of it. I do need to empty the black tank on it, get that set for the winter, and I never properly winterized the trailer. We've kind of just been keeping it just warm enough to not have any issues. So today I'm going to work on getting that black tank emptied. I'm going to get it winterized, ready for the winter, and I'm going to get a load together to take down to storage so that stuff's out of our way and we can start tearing this thing apart. So come follow along today. We are back on the Vlogmas train, and we are excited to have you here. I'm really glad that I remembered that I needed to empty these tanks, because as you saw, it was freezing. There was snow on the ground a few days ago. So I brought all my hoses into the trailer. This is just our water supply, and then that's actually a heated hose, so I was able to plug that one in, but all of these were outside. So I brought them in here, have had this little heater running. It was just enough to get everything dried out and ready. So now I can get this pumped out, and actually my pump's in here too. So that's my pump I use, and then that goes into the clean out. So I'll give you guys like a quick tour of how I dump the tanks, what that looks like. As far as our property is concerned, where the trailer is, there isn't a clean out. There's no way for to get septic dumped over there. So what I use is a Macerator pump, and I'll link that down below. And all I do is I hook that up to the bayonet fittings on the outside of the trailer, where all of the gray and black water come out of. I just hook it up there, and then I run it about 100 feet to the clean out for the septic on our in-laws property. And so what it does is it kind of emulsifies what comes out of the tank, and then it pumps it to the septic. So I'll give you a quick rundown of this. It's nothing too exciting, but I'll just kind of show you what I'm up to with it. So this is the pump I was talking about. It's very simple. All you do is you screw this on the outside of the trailer, which I'll show you, and then it exits through a just a garden hose fitting, and then there's a 12-volt connector, and that's it. So this is how all our gray water just kind of goes in the field, but for black water, this is how we're pumping it into the clean out. So I'm going to go ahead and get that set up now. The hose I use is this is like a industrial grade. It's a 3/4 inch hose. I've had it for a long time. It's about 120 feet long. I have it spliced at 100 feet, so I added 20 feet to it for our last living situation. But everything I have on here is as good as I could buy, just because you don't want to screw this up. So you can see here I have the end for it, and I have a brass cap on it. So this way, when you're not using it, has a nice cap. So this is the end that goes on the pump. And then this other part's kind of what I engineered for the part that goes on the clean out. So this is the hose. This is a female to female connector, a couple of brass and PVC fittings, 1-inch ball valve, and then this part is what goes onto the clean out. And I'll show you that when I hook it up. But this part here is actually a cap. So this is a cap I put on. So this part is just to keep this all contained when I'm not using it. And then this part actually spins, and I put it down onto the clean out on the sewer system. So it's been a perfect setup. I've had zero issues with it. Main reason why I did this is because when you have it in the clean out, you don't want it coming out. You don't want to be questioning it. And then also having having the ball valve on here makes it so you can contain that line. So once this ball valve is closed and the cap is on the other end, this whole hose is self-contained. I don't have to worry about leaking. Also, you know, that's after I flush it. So I flush it as good as I can, and then I close the valves, and we're pretty clean after that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the pump set up, and I'll show you what that looks like. And just to explain once again the parts real quick, this is the outlet for the tank. So gray water, black water all comes out this. What you see on here is just a cap to 3/4 garden hose, and that just goes out into the fields. That's where all my gray water has been going. So all I do is remove this cap, and I put the pump on right there, and then this hose goes right there, and then I pull my black valves. So that's how this is all going to be put together. And to power this, it's really simple. I just have a, on my battery itself, I just have this cable go straight in line with the battery, and I just pull this guy out, and then there's a 2-pin plug, which I gotta find it. Here it is. So I just plug those two together, on-off switch, and you're off to the races. On this end, we're going to drag it across the yard. Hopefully that hose unwinds. Come on, there we go. All right, so we're going to take this across the yard. This part's pretty easy. You just get the cap off the clean out. Set that aside. Like I said, this is the cap I built. I mean, this thread's on here, so you don't have to worry about it coming off. And then open the valve so everything can go through. And I'll spare you guys the graphic details of the next step, but pretty much all you gotta do is pull the valve for the black tank, turn the pump on, let it pump until everything is clear. I generally do 1 or 2 back flushes just to make sure everything is good, which I will definitely do this time because I'm closing things up for the season. And then I'll close the black valve, and then I always flush some water out of the gray tanks just to clean everything out, clean the pump out, and then we'll be good to go.
I walk this road, it takes me home where skies are blue. I walk this road because I know it leads to you. No matter when, no matter what.
I've got the black tank completely empty now, and everything's looking good. I got it back flush, so that's going to be pretty much it. What I do is I actually leave a little bit of water in the black tank, gray tank, both of those. And I leave some water in, and the reason why I do that is because I also pour some antifreeze down there, because you can't be sure you have all of the liquid out of there, and the last thing you want is for water to be resting up against your valve, which will freeze the valve, potentially break it. So you just don't want that. So I always leave a little bit of water in there, and then I pour some antifreeze into the black tanks. I don't use antifreeze on the freshwater side. I just purge it with air, because that's your drinking water, and I don't understand. I don't like doing that. But as far as our waste tanks, totally, I put some antifreeze in there, and it's good to go. So now that I have everything, the black tank completely empty, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my 2 gray tank valves, which I've put some fresh water into, and that's just going to back flush all of the rest of the piping, the pump, and then the hose with fresh water. So I'll go ahead and get that taken care of. Alright, so we're going to close the black tank. I'm going to pull my gray tank. And you see there's some water goes in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn my pump on, which is this switch right here. And you can see at this point, it's just clean water. There's nothing else in there. And I'll go ahead and pull my other gray tank valve. I'll admit this is not my favorite one. And if you are an RV manufacturer, this is my biggest tip. Don't put these valves under the slide, because that means that if you're in gravel, concrete, wherever you're at, you have to crawl under the slide just to get to these. It just really doesn't make sense to me. I understand why, but at the same time, there has to be a better way, because if your slide is out, this is just not convenient and not comfortable. So I'll show you what that looks like. So that'll be the gray tank for the kitchen, and everything is gonna just drain out here. I wait until the pump is dry, and then I will roll up the hose and get everything put back away. The last step is for me to roll this hose up, and because it's such a heavy duty hose, it can be a nightmare to get rolled up correctly. But I wanted to share with you a tip I learned actually on a YouTube channel, gosh, like years ago. And the biggest thing is to roll it up, roll the hose up, and kind of let it do its own thing. As you know, these have their own attitude as far as how they want to go. So what I learned is to just alternate the direction depending on what the hose is wanting to do. And if you do that, then when you pull this hose straight again, it's going to go straight. But if you just wind this hose into a nice pile, it looks nice. But the problem with that is that when you go to pull it out, now you have this big corkscrew mess. So I'll show you kind of how I do this. It's not going to be a full tutorial, but this has saved me a ton of time and headache over the years rolling up this way. So I grab a piece of hose and I stand on this side and I'll bring it in, and I kind of see how this wants to lay. So that's a normal roll there. I'll let that one be where it's at. This next one, you can kind of see it's going flat but not quite flat. So what I'm going to do on this next one is, instead of rolling like that, I'm going to grab a chunk and I'm going to place it under. And if you didn't see that, you kind of got to watch it in slow motion. It took me a while to figure it out. But now that hose doesn't have an attitude. This next one is normal. Normal again. And you kind of just go through and you feel the hose as it's going down, and you see what it wants to do. So this one's doing pretty good. It's really cold outside, so this kind of tells you how much of a difference this makes. There's that one. So now it's kind of wanting to go the wrong direction, so I'll flip one under like that. Like I say, this isn't as pretty, but it'll make it a lot easier when you go to use the hose again. We've got a few more loops here. And we're all done. So hopefully that helps you out. That's just been a little trick I've known for years. When I saw it, it kind of blew my mind. But like I said, it's made my life a lot easier. So I'm going to put this hose away, and then the sun's going down. It's supposed to snow tonight, so I'm really just going to focus on getting things kind of cleaned up, and that might be it for today, but I'll tune you guys back in if anything else comes up. Just going to come over here, grab my soap. Oh, dang it. That's why you don't leave things in buckets in the wintertime, because my brush is in there. Oh, wait. Oh, sweet. I won the lottery. All right. Well, that wasn't so bad. I can break this one. Perfect. I'm just trying to clean things up, but when they're frozen, it doesn't do you any good. Oh, look, there's some more in there too. Ready? Perfect. Now I can put all these things away. I'm really easily entertained. It's kind of the little things like that. But yeah, I definitely am behind the ball as far as getting things winterized this year. But so far, no leaks in the trailer. Looks like everything's good. So I think we got off pretty easy. But time to get all wrapped up. You'll have to forgive me, I have the truck on right now because I'm using my air compressor, my onboard air compressor. But I'm all set up and ready to do the winterization on the Cougar. I wanted to show you guys a little bit about what that looks like. So here's my water inlet for the for our city water on our trailer. So already installed, you'll see I have an adapter. So it's just a garden hose thread to a to an air hose fitting. And then I have this air hose, which is going to my truck, and I'll show you what that looks like. So all I have to do is have this plugged in, as you can see. So it's plugged into the bumper, it's ready to go. Goes out this way. And what this is going to do is this pressurizes the system inside the trailer. So it's going to purge any water or anything from inside the trailer. So I'm going to start with the fresh tank, move on to the hot water tank, and then I'll do the lines at each of the fittings, at the kitchen sink, bathroom sink, shower, and so on, until there's no water and just air. So we're going to get that taken care of. And one thing to be careful of is if you're going to be doing the hot water tank to drain it, you want to disconnect the pressure. As you can see, there's some water in it still. So let's clean the water out. But anyways, when you're doing the hot water heater, you want to make sure you have no pressure in that hot water heater. So like this one, for instance, I'm going to go ahead and pull the relief valve. So now I know my tank has no pressure in it. It hasn't been heated for a while. And then the next step, it looks like this one doesn't work. Put the wrong size. I might have to go get a special socket. I need to remove the anode rod, which is right there. So I need to find my tool for that. I'll be right back. All right, so we got the anode rod out, and now we're draining the hot water tank. As you can see, this anode rod is good. This is one season of use, so I'm gonna put this right back in once the hot water tank dries, or excuse me, once it empties out. So I got that one going, and then we're gonna go after this low point drain again. For the hot side, we'll drain that out. Cold side, we'll drain that out. That looks like the cold side's pretty good. The cold side back on. This is all super important because if you don't do this, you can burst a pipe. You can actually, your hot water tank, you can actually burst the tank. You'll get a big crack in it. So it's really important to just get as much out of here as possible. Like I said, you can absolutely just put some antifreeze in your system. But for me personally, we've always struggled to do that because although it may be efficient, you're really inducing a lot of chemical. Even if you're using like marine grade or RV grade antifreeze, I just would rather not have it in my system. And yeah, so we just use air to purge the system. So you drain everything the best you can, and then you turn on your compressor and you get everything drained out. You're gonna put that hot side drain back in. So those are tight, and then from here, that's all I can do. I'm going to shut my pressure relief valve. So there's that, and then I'm going to put the anode rod back in. The biggest thing with these anode rods is you got to be really careful to not strip it when you put it back in, because if you strip this, there's no fixing it. You're probably going to end up putting a new tank in. Then I'll tighten this back up. Doesn't take much. So another thing with these is that you don't want to over tighten them. All right. So hot water tank. It's winterized. There's nothing in it. And then what I would like to do is I like to go around and do just one more round of air. So what I'm going to do is plug this back in. You can hear my truck on. Okay. So it's going to pressurize. It's going to get all of that pressurized again. I'll go in the trailer and run the faucets one more time. All right. So here in the kitchen sink, we're gonna run, sorry it's loud, there's some nasty water in there. So you just want to let this run until there's just air coming out. And remember, sometimes what you might want to do, especially with the compressor you have, like for example, like I'm running off of my truck compressor, so it doesn't have a huge amount of capacity, so you have to let that catch up in order to have enough air to purge. So by shutting the valve and opening it back up, you'll notice you'll have a lot more pressure when you open it back up after leaving it shut for a few seconds, and that just means that pressure is built back up. And that takes care of all of the interior fixtures. So that's the shower head, the bathroom sink, the kitchen sink, and then I just got to do the toilet, and then the outdoor shower. So that's going to be my next two things, and I'll be good to go. All right, here's the outdoor shower. You can tell I've never used this. Well, we bought this trailer, just as a business trailer, so we're just going to be flipping it. But didn't check the shower door, and it looks like this is broken. So I'll put on my list of things to replace. But this one is going to be the same as the indoor shower. Just going to hold this out here, turn on a hose, or turn on the fitting. So once again, make sure there's no water in this. I think we're pretty good. Hot side and cold side. All right, put that back where I found it, and I think we might be done. And looks like the final step is going to be to pull this air line off of the trailer. So when I do this, we should get a little more water, but that should be pretty much it. So I'm going to pull that. It's going to be loud. If it was a little colder out, I think we could make some snow. I think that's how you make snow, right? Just like water and high pressure air. I don't know. It seems like that's how it works, but it's not quite cold enough for that. Alright, that's going to do it for day 12 here on the Less Things Big Dreams Vlogmas. Thank you for being patient with us. We took a few days off, like I said in the beginning, but we're feeling good. We're excited to finally be working on the Cougar. Getting it winterized was like one of the last things we needed to do. We got everything else kind of lined up for it. So tomorrow we should be starting to dig into it. We'll just bring you along just like we have been, and I hope you guys are enjoying. Make sure that if you're not subscribed that you subscribe. That definitely helps us out, as well as comments. We haven't had a whole lot of comments or views really on our Vlogmas videos, but if you're still here, I do appreciate you. We appreciate you watching and showing your support, and yeah, give this video a like if it's something you enjoy, if it's content you like, and maybe comment below your preferred way of doing your winterization. So whether or not you do the antifreeze approach or do the water purge or the air purge like I do with this little fitting here. And I'll put this in our in the description as well, just because it's a really cool piece to have. Yeah, so that's going to be it. I'm going to go ahead and head inside and start editing, but we will see you tomorrow.